Hello, you fucks. Welcome to John Solo's Beer Brigade. I'm John Solo. You are not, and today is the big day. Hey, the ticker's messed up. Look at that. If that's the worst thing that happens in this video, I think we're freaking good. This is awesome. Now, I have a very special guest today in the background. She's not on quite yet, but let me do a couple show notes first before we get into the chat here. First off, did you see all these cool looking graphics here? Over the course of the last couple of weeks, we keep on making improvements upon improvements. It seems like the music is going well this time around. Everybody seemed to like that. And the lighting and everything else. And look at this. I'm wearing a fucking shirt. Look at that. I even got a shirt on instead of the traditional tank top. It's because I'm going to dinner with my in-laws after this. So this week, we're doing a live video on Friday. I'm not sure what book we're going to be reading yet. I suspect that it might be an M.A. Grant book, but I'm not 100% certain on that. I haven't gotten permission to read it on social media yet. So we shall see there. On Sunday, we're doing another morning coffee, and I have a couple surprises up my sleeve for the morning coffee this coming Sunday, but we'll just leave those as surprises. That's why they're called surprises. And past that, without any more from me, let's go ahead and bring on our guest. I give you Julia Talbot. Hello, how are you? There you go. Wave out of the crowd. You got it. Good. I like your pillow, by the way. Need more sleep. That's the best pillow I've ever seen. Yeah.
Thank you.
So I have a story to tell. You, and you know a little bit of this, but I'm gonna. So this was the little episode of Talk to the Beard that almost never could. I have my lovely TNA, my assistant Tracy Johns. She normally books our show for us. She started booking this particular week. We do this once a week. A month and a half ago or something like that. We had a cancellation, no problem. So a few weeks ago, she books a second guest. Another cancellation a few days ago. So she's like, I don't know what to do. This show might not happen. So I reached out to your lovely wife, B.A. Tortuga, and I was like, hey, I'm working on your book right now. You want to come on the show? And she's like, heck yeah, I do. It's going to be awesome. In her typical freewheeling cowboy-esque style. And then the next morning, I get a message from her saying, you know what? I messed up. I have a doctor's appointment today. And at this point in my head, I was like, the gods are trying to tell me something. Maybe we shouldn't do a show on October 25th. But no, then she gave me the alternative of you. She said, but my wife will step right in. I don't know if she asked you about that before she actually volunteered you or not.
She did. Sure. Well, yes, she did, actually. So, yeah, but she was going to get her co-writer, Jody, to do it because I know that you're working on one of their books. But Jody had a doctor's appointment, too. He was totally like, oh my God, I would totally do it, except, and right now with all the COVID stuff, you can't get doctor's appointments, so you can't just cancel one.
Yeah, right? For sure. Yeah, it's not like, so I'm assuming this is like an in-person appointment too. It wasn't like the tele-evangelist thing or whatever the hell they do. Yeah. So this caused another round of confusion too. So now I'm kind of, I have to set up some graphics and a few other things for the show, and we put something up in the group, advertising it and all that fun stuff. So I reach out to my lovely Tracy Johns and I say, hey, we're having Jody Payne on the show because for some reason in my mind, you and Jody were and my wife's name's Jody. It's a little confused. So I was confused.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I even, I sent an email off to you and to get the graphic, not even thinking. And I just started looking up Jody Payne. So I had Jody's graphic all lined up and everything else. And then, of course, BA emails me back and says, no, in fact, John, you are a fucking moron. That's not my wife. I'm not married.
That's not my wife.
Yeah. So I had to figure that all out. But then I was looking, and we've met in person very briefly, GRL a couple of years ago. But then I was looking it up, and like, you are not only an author, you were like a damn good author, and you've been at it for a while. You're welcome. I was looking on the site, so it looks like we have quite a few mutual friends in common as well. You worked for DSP for a while. I know that whole thing just kind of fell, but I'm looking at the screen now here. Yeah, going. Have you gotten? Is everything ironed out? You got your rights back and all that?
As much as it's I've got all my rights back. We traded a bunch of audio books, in fact, and things like that in lieu of some of the stuff they owed, and it's all good.
Excellent. Well, it is what it is. I've said this 1,000 times on the show. I wish no one ill will, and in fact, I have some good friends from there. So And it is what it is. So it looks like you write romances of all genders, from GLBT to het. You specialize in hot werewolves, wickedly naughty historicals, and the occasional smoke jumper or... Okay, there's a new one for me.
Yep.
What's a smoke jumper?
A smoke jumper is the firefighters that jump into wildfires, like in California, where you have the wildfire situations. They jump in, parachute into the fire ahead of the fire line and try to put out the fire from the front.
Crazy people.
So
that's the crazy people. Yeah. Okay. Well, that makes perfect sense.
And I got to know quite a few of them when I was living in Colorado, because that was a big thing where I was living in Western Colorado, and they're nuts. Just
maybe, and I'm going to back up here because maybe I didn't hear you correctly. So wildfire, it's dangerous, right? And, everything's everybody's going the other way, and firemen and women that jump in there and actually from the front lines are spraying out with a hose. That's some scary shit. These people, they fly them in and drop them in the middle of the fire. Is that what they do?
Yes. They drop them in by parachute, and then depending on what their job is, they dig fire lines to try to keep the fire from crossing it. They'll cut trees. They'll be there to direct people with the planes that come over and dump the water. They'll be the spotters on the ground going, here,
Yeah. I can see maybe 100 years, but I mean, we have robots now. Why would
right?
Well, okay. Yeah, everybody's got their death wish. Well, that's actually a cool... I haven't heard of that one before. I write characters I'd want to know and love. I love to explore paranormals with a genuine sense of fun, historical romances that don't take themselves too seriously, and a good bit of slap and tickle. I love a good old-fashioned bit of, smooching. I love smooching. Yeah. That's excellent, by the way. So in lieu of the COVID fucking disaster and all that shit that's going on, and of course, y'all were kind of knee deep with DSP going on too. Have you been able to get any writing done in the last year?
Yeah, actually I have. I've got a couple of books coming out as Julia, but what I've really branched out into is another pen name called Minerva Howe. Okay. And she writes Impreg. So nice. I've been writing.
I'm very familiar. Well, I don't know if you know this or not. I'm the Butt Baby King. I've done more Impreg books in audio than any man ever seen. And funny, just a few years ago, I didn't even know that men could get pregnant. So this has been an interesting development for me.
Brand new. It was interesting for me too. So
I bet. What got you interested in that in particular?
Actually, it was there's a writer named C.W. Gray. I don't know if you're familiar with her or not, but I picked up one of her books and I was like, I had always been like, oh, I mean, I knew what Impreg was because I was a publisher for years. I worked with other publishers for years, all this stuff, and I was like, oh, no, not my thing. And then I read one of her books and I went, okay. I can go there. Like, I can see this now. I understand. I'm going to see if I can write one of these.
Well, you pulled it off, obviously.
And I wrote one. And
well, a lot of the authors that I've seen to get into Impreg, or writing Impreg in particular, are writing oftentimes because of the social stance of it. I don't know if you get into this or not, but the attraction of getting into a situation where you can really express there's no way to say this and be politically correct. So the way society has treated women, and they use Impreg as a way to tell that story and tell a different perspective of it, something that a lot of people wouldn't see otherwise. It's incredibly interesting. I see a lot of writers do that with Impreg, but that's kind of the more serious side. Are you leaning into that, or?
I can totally see that, and there are elements of that in some of my books, but I have to admit that I'm into it for the fun aspect of it.
There is another side of it too.
And it's more about inflicting that on men than it is.
Well, there's another side of it too. I mean, there's men pooping babies out their butts. That's pretty fun. So there is that. And it seems to me that you're definitely getting into the comedic side of it. And especially if you're married to B.A. Tortuga, for the love of God, you got to have a sense of humor, because that lady is fucking hilarious. I have to now, she's not here but we're going to talk a little bit about your wife for a second. All right.
All right.
I produced a number of her books with Falcon Sound Company. That was my company for a number of years. But then I moved on. At this point, I'm really not producing anybody other than my stuff, the John Solo stuff. And when I did that, we got the opportunity. Your wife reached out to me through Tantor Audio, and we got to produce a few books through Tantor for her. And I think Jody was a part of that as well. I work live in Discord every day. I have a crowd that I kind of perform in front of. It's an interesting way to work. And the crowd gets into these books. So I don't know, it's about halfway through the first book that we're doing. And a character gets shot in the neck with a dart. Out of the blue, there's no rhyme or reason or explanation behind this. The character is just, there's no ninjas in the book prior to this, but the character gets shot in the neck with a dart. And we thought it was the funniest shit we'd ever, I mean, we're dying laughing. To the point now where it's become, I don't know the right term for this, a colloquialism. I don't really know, but now occasionally, anytime anyone gets shot in a book, you'll see people in the crowd going, in the neck with a dart. We love that. With a dart. Over and over and over again. That's one of the first things. Every time I think of your wife, like I know the next time I see her, I'm just going to start doing like this. I love it to death. She's fucking hilarious. The second thing, now I'm bogarting this conversation, so please talk over me whenever you, but this is
I'm happy to talk about the wife. Yeah.
Well, so she had a line in a book randomly that I narrated that said this, I'm a pineapple whore. That was the line. I did it in that voice for a number of reasons. And it was that character and everything, but I'm a pineapple whore. Crowd busts up laughing. I'm dying laughing. It's just a hilarious line. I love it to death, right? Mm-hmm. So it became a thing. I had to make business cards to go to GRL this year for the convention. I don't have one sitting here. So all my friends, and little Katie Cat, one of my best friends, they made me business cards. And on one side of it, it says, John Solo, I'm a pineapple whore. And it has a pineapple logo and everything. So I take these cards and I hand them out at GRL. And there's a number of other jokes on the business cards. They're fucking hilarious, which is just me. I'm not serious. So I'm handing them out. It wasn't until after I got the business cards and I'm getting ready to actually prepare for GRL that I realized pineapples, those are a sign for swingers. I did not know this. So I'm walking around GRL handing out business cards that say, John Solo, I'm a pineapple whore. It was fantastic. So your wife has influenced me in a number of ways. And one was to promote me. Yeah. One was promote me being a swinger, which by the way, I'm totally not. And, and my wife would be very upset if I decided to be, but yeah, that's, I'm a pineapple whore. So now that tagline is also in my emails for a lot of my emails that I send. John Solo, I'm a pineapple whore.
That's pineapple whore. Okay.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah. So that's, your wife has influenced me beyond belief. And I was looking, when we sent the email off for the show notes, and apparently she didn't get it, but Tracy emailed me and said, I hope she's not offended. And I didn't even remember what she's talking about at first. Then I realized, oh, my email says I'm a pineapple whore at the end of it. maybe that would piss her off.
That was freaking hilarious.
Yeah.
She will, when she watches this, she will go, did I do that? No, admittedly, this is something she says all the time. Not pineapple necessarily, but oh my God, I'm a total whore for blah. I am a American Horror Story whore. I mean, she'll and just so I will totally look at her and go, yeah, you did that.
Yeah, but, and it was fucking funny. So how did you two meet, anyways?
We met on the internet. Which, considering how long ago that was, in the year 2000.
The old dial-up?
Yeah, yes. I was still on, because I was living in small town Colorado. So I was still on dial-up. I'm not sure whether she was. Yeah, I'm sure she was. She was in Austin, though. And we met, and we wrote together doing, live journal stuff for a while. And then one day we're on IRC. You remember IRC, don't you? Internet Relay Chat. Yeah. And she says, There's nobody publishing male because at the time there wasn't. It was all fan fiction. In
Mm.
fact, the biggest publisher, the biggest ebook publisher, which was Alora's Cave back then, had a big thing on their website that said, "The boys can't touch if you write a menage."
Is that
If you
true?
know, in their guidelines, they said you can send us a male, female menage, but the boys can't touch each other. What did they
Well,
call? They called it no crossing swords.
I mean, I admit if I was in a threesome, I really wouldn't want the dude touching me, but I'm as straight as a fucking arrow. They couldn't, but I get it.
Right.
I get it. I don't cross my sword, buddy. You can stay over on that side. But
You stay on your side, and yes, but when you're looking at it and going, I want to publish my stuff
yeah,
because we were writing male stuff. We're like, well, damn it, So
yeah.
so I think we'd known each other maybe 6 months, and she's typing away on IRC, and she says, "You want to start a publishing company?" And I said, "Sure." And she said, "Well, I'll get the business license if you get the bank account." She gives me her social security number.
Wow.
I give her mine. And then 2 years later, I moved in with her. I think,
That's well. I mean, you could already do a background check, so I suppose you felt safe.
right? Yeah. Well, I had no background check. No. I mean, but yeah, I did. I felt like I knew her, 6 months on by that point. Once that's the one thing about my wife is when she decides that you're her friend or that you're her family, you are. End of story.
Mm, it's on. So how did you? She
It's
was in
on.
Texas and you were in Colorado. How did you end up in New
Yeah.
Mexico?
Well, I moved down to Texas and I brought my dad with me because my mom had passed away. And my dad got diagnosed with lung cancer. And he said, "I don't want to fucking die in Texas.
Mm.
Don't get me wrong, Texas is fine, but I don't love it here. I don't want to die here. I want to go back to New Mexico." And we said, bye. So we packed up Dad and we moved to Albuquerque. And we had been up here for the first GRL that was up here.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was born in southern New Mexico and I'd never lived up here in Albuquerque, so I didn't really know it well. And but we came up here to go to GRL, and we said, "That's a really nice area, Dad. Do you want to go there?" And he said, "Yeah, let's go to the mountains." So we moved up here in May of 2013, and he passed away in September of 2013. So,
wow. Well, you made it just in time.
I mean, it was like, yeah, it was like, oh, I'm happy. Okay. And then we just stayed. And, Texas, as much as my girl loves her home state, it's not safe for us, really.
I have no experience in Texas. Is it still, I mean, are you talking about LGBT rights and the way people see that, or?
Very much. I mean, and not because of the everyday stuff. That I want everybody to know that. Like, the people in Texas in general are amazing. But, like, as sick as she is, for example, there's this huge battle in Texas right now over would I be able to deal with her stuff, even though we're legally married. The doctors would have the right to deny her treatment. They would have the right to deny me the next of kin rights. They would be able to call her father instead and say, now her daddy, I'm sure you've heard about BA's daddy. He's a good man and he would let me make the decisions. But, there are things where, like, it could take days though to get this stuff settled. And by then she could die,
Mm-hmm. I guess I didn't realize.
and
Although
every day it changes.
Well, I'm in Ohio, and the laws here are kind of similar in a lot of ways. Many of my friends
Right.
around here were incredibly worried about that. Now, it seems the last couple of years things have started to progress and laws have passed. For instance, I know for a fact in Ohio now that you can actually, if you're married, whether it be male, female, male, whatever the case may be, you're allowed to go into a hospital room. You're allowed to make the decisions as long as there's a will in place. I know that's the case now. Is it still not that way in Texas, or do you know?
Well, ideally it is. but like I said, things change daily. First of all,
Yeah.
they're passing laws, and then they're getting those laws restricted because the courts go after them and they do this. And then, but really, I mean, like if she went into a hospital in her hometown in Greenville, Texas, which is, it's not this big, but it's this big,
Yeah.
there's a lot of stuff that would happen that by the time I was able to get legal help to say this isn't right,
Mm-hmm.
and then there are places there, in Texas still where it's just not safe. That people talk about New Mexico for whatever reasons. They say, Albuquerque's the murder capital of the world, and all that sort of thing, because we are a very poor state. And in general, Albuquerque is a very poor city. And so we have a lot of crime. But there's never been once that I walked down the street here with my wife holding her hand that somebody has said anything to us.
Mm-hmm. It
Never.
didn't seem like that kind of town at all. We were fortunate enough to spend a week there a couple of years ago for GRL. And I'll tell you what, it's a fun town. It's gorgeous. It's more downtown is more sparse than I'm accustomed to. Even they call Columbus Cowtown, but walking downtown in Albuquerque, you're like, well, that's it.
Yeah, that's not where it happens in Albuquerque at all. Is
I
the
guess
downtown,
not.
because people go down there to work and then they go home, and that's
Mhm. Well, it
that's
was
it.
it was it was
There's a
hard to
lot of
find
places,
it was hard to find like restaurants and shit. There were a few, and they were
right?
really good. Did you see that conversation on Facebook the other day that I think
I
her
did.
name is Anya put up? I was like, "What the fuck are
Hmm.
you doing, Anya? I like you, but the food there was incredible. What do you?" But then again, it's the green chilies. Come on.
Right.
um,
It's the Grinch. Well, and I went on there and made a couple of comments because I was like, dude, tell me it's not to your taste, but don't tell me it sucks. We have some of the best food in the world, damn it. This is my home state.
yeah, I
But
know.
no, I know. Not everybody loves that. So,
I wasn't that fond of the food in St. Louis, so that's where we just were, and it was all right. It was okay, but it was I would have rather had when we came home from Albuquerque from GRL a couple of years ago. My lovely wife Jody started ordering green chili sauce of some sort or another, and she's been like it's been 2 years and she's still ordering that shit. So I think it stuck.
yep.
You guys had an effect on her. It's also just plain gorgeous. I didn't get to see as much of it. I spent, you know how it is at a GRL. You're in that hotel for a week
Sure.
straight,
Sure.
but she was not working as much, so she was able to travel around, and she got some great pictures of they're not hieroglyphs, they're petroglyphs, something like that. She got
Petroglyphs.
to
Hmm.
see those. We went to Santa Fe the last day there. That was gorgeous. It's a lovely state. So
Hmm.
how are Now, this is an awkward question, so feel free to tell me to fuck off. But how are you?
Okay.
How are you holding up? Because I know BA's been sick now for going on a year and a half, at least that I've kept track of somewhere in there. It's really hard being the spouse during something like that. How are you physically? How are you mentally? Are you ready to kill her yet? I'm just.
Well, I'm not ready to kill her. There are times when because bless her heart, bless mine. We're both 50-something-year-old women, and so we're both kind of hitting, well, she not kind of because she had a hysterectomy. So, but we're both hitting that menopause area of life too. And so uh, there have been times, when it's not easy. But not, thank God, we always say this, and we have said this since the very first time we traveled together, which was, I think probably about 2 months after I moved in with her. We say that we turn it against everyone else. We never turn on each other. We turn on the world.
That's wonderful.
So, hi, Boomer. Hi, buddy.
See,
Yeah.
trust me, the crowd in this place doesn't mind one little bit. We actually have a mascot. His name's Declan. He's a German Shepherd of one of our good friends, Cheryl Kaiser. We get pictures in the group every day. So, oh, look at him. What's his name?
His name is Boomer,
Boomer.
and he is my Basset Hound Amstaff mix.
Oh,
We have two Basset Hounds, a Basset Hound Amstaff and a Basset Hound Dalmatian. And hello, Boomer, say hi to the crowd. Thank you. That's my boob. All right, get down, buddy. Come on. There we go.
he's fantastic. He also looks like he thinks he's a lap dog, which I completely
He
appreciate.
does. He thinks he's a 54-pound lap dog.
Yeah,
And
that's the way they work.
so,
We have gone through this not we're not in the situation that you are. My wife has multiple sclerosis, and God bless her. In the last 10 years or so, her health has actually improved dramatically, especially in the last 5. She's made some major life
Right.
changes, and it's on. But the first 10 years of that were really rough. And mobility issues, that sort of thing. And certainly they were far rougher for her than for me. But I know as a spouse, going through that occasionally, it's challenging because you feel bad that you don't know what to do to help. And it's
Right.
also hard sometimes to say, you know what, I'm just kind of stressed. I'm kind of stressed and I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Um, it's a very awkward situation to be in, and because for me, I'm a guy. I'm from Mars, not Venus, so I always want to solve the problem, and I'm
That's well,
not very
I
good at.
tend to be the Mars in our relationship too, and it really bothers me. I'll sit there and go, she'll say, "Would you just stop asking me if I'm okay?" And I'm like, "But I want to fix it.
Yeah.
I want to make it fixed. I want to." And she's like, "There's no fixing this because, again, like you said about your wife, her most of her issues are autoimmune
Mm-hmm.
BAs.
Yep.
She has she has what's called cascading autoimmune disorder. And it basically means that her body picks this week it's going to be rheumatoid arthritis. Next week it's going to be MS. Next week it'll be lupus. And it goes through all of
Wow.
these crazy symptoms and or like, her body will just reject. This week it's her kidneys. Next week it might be her liver. I mean, you just never know. And so it can be totally crazy.
Well, yeah.
1 month she'll be in remission, and then a month later she'll be in the hospital for a week because you
And,
know
and it's got to be hard all the way around, especially with both of you as writers and both of you are working from home. It's got to be hard to be able to even focus to try and get your writing done.
yeah.
And now that being said, you both are just absolutely lovely, bubbly people. Um, like when we met at GRL, your wife was quiet at first, which didn't strike me as the way she normally is. But she was, yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure, but she was very nervous. It's like I told you before the show. It's like she didn't even understand that I knew who she was, And I'm like, yeah, of
Mm.
course, I've worked on a bunch of your books. I know who you are. And you were even more quiet, standing back there like, who the fuck is that dude? I'm going to take him out. It was it was wonderful. You're both just such nice, beautiful people. Anyways,
Thank you.
yeah, no problem. I don't need to kiss your ass now. You're already on the show. So, well, I'm not. It's actually absolutely true. Now, what are you working on moving forward? What are you working in a series right now?
I am working on 2 series for the Minerva Howe, the male preg stuff. I have one that's dragons, which the dragons are really in right now. People love the
Oh yeah.
dragons,
Yep.
and I have this. You sit there and you write a book and you think, look at that, I've got a book. And then I thought, okay, so I have this one book. It has 3 brothers and they're each going to get a book and that'll be it. Yay, isn't that nice? Nice, tidy little series, la la la. So I wrote the final book in that and I thought, but this isn't the end of this. And now I have the plan for this universe called the Dragon Mail universe has become like this. It was an iceberg, obviously, and I'm like the Titanic, And so I'm working on that, and I have something like 8 more books planned for that. And then I have another series that's a small town, non-paranormal impreg romance series called Secret Springs, and set in Colorado, which is, where my mom was from. And I lived in Colorado for years and years, and I have a great love for small town Colorado. And so I'm doing that too. And that's going to be like a 6 or 8 book series as well. So,
Well, you said the right words, dragons with this crowd. Good Lord. You're right. They're hot right now. But somebody just asked, do the dragons lay eggs?
no. And in my series, they do not. No, they have, and they don't poop out their butt babies either. They actually have, there's several different like conventions in male preg as far as how the babies are born, and in this case they have a birth line that's sort of like a built-in cesarean, sort of opens up when the baby's ready to come out, and they come out and then they seal it back up, and then that's how
That
the babies are
seems
born. So
that seems so much tidier to me. I've constantly, I've done so many of these books and so many, the typical layout of an impreg book. Sometimes last scene or maybe a chapter before the end, somewhere in there, they're having the baby, and I've done so many of those scenes. Right? It always sometimes it occurs to me like if they're going to the bathroom, like how do they know if that's like they strain too hard, like oops, there's the baby. Like it's really
Oops,
hard to
there's the
tell.
baby.
Yeah, it's really hard to tell sometimes. Cesarean, that seems like a much cleaner way. Have you heard of the ones where they have the baby coming out of their penis? Have you seen those yet? I've not narrated one
I
of
have
those.
not seen those. No, I have not. I have not. I have actually read one though where it was a male preg that was a giant cockroach, and it came out of like a cocoon thing, and so I thought I'd seen everything, but I've not. I've not seen it come out of the penis. No.
That's fantastic. Yeah, people are now flipping out in the crowd. Yes, that actually is a thing, Tracy. Yeah, hey, you said the right thing. So the Dragon series, you're working on that, and then you've got the other kind of
Hmm.
we'll call it contempt impreg. Is that a good word for it?
Right.
Contempt impreg. Yeah,
Hmm.
you've got that going on. That's excellent. You've stepped up and you've done me a huge favor today. I really appreciate this. And once again, I feel like I
No
owe you.
problem.
So if there's anything that we can do in return, not just me, but this crowd is very resourceful. You just let us know. I'm going to ask a couple favors. First off, I told you before we started that this is going to be on YouTube as well. That'll most likely be posting tomorrow, and I'll give you all the link for that. But normally in these, I can't keep track of our conversation and looking at comments very much at the same time. So if at some point you'd be so kind as to join my group and look at the comments, that would be greatly appreciated because I'm
Okay.
sure I missed some questions. Past that, thank you everybody for hanging out. I will be back on Friday with some sort of live read. And this is the easy part, Julia. All I have to do is wave bye to the crowd. We'll see
Wave.
y'all soon.
Thank you so much.